is not just a single dissenting shareholder. It is important to know that whatever Mr. Noel Tata conveys on the board discussions at Tata Sons is actually the thinking of Tata Trusts. Both point to, I would say again, there being disagreement between the trusts and the Tata Sons, the vision difference between the chairman of Tata Sons and the trustees of the Tata Trust. The worst is behind us in that sense. The Tata Sons and the Tata Group have an opportunity now to identify a successor who is in alignment with the Tata Trust.
Hello and welcome to TheFederal. N Chandrasekaran said he is stepping down as Tata Sons chairman early next year. The shock move comes days ahead of contentious AGM. Chandra has asked the board to begin a succession process. And the trigger? Tata Trust had unanimously recommended extending his term for another 5 years from February 2027. And the Nomination and Remuneration Committee and board backed it unanimously last September. But the resolution tabled at the board this February was dropped because of one of the board members did not support it. This ties into broader tension with Tata Trust Chairman Noel Tata, with disagreements extending to board representation, group strategy, and the proposed exit of minority stakeholder Sharpunji Palonji. We have with us today Mr. Shriram Subramanian, founder and MD of InGovern, India's pioneering proxy advisory firm, to help us understand the boardroom battle, what it means for Tata Sons listed companies, and what happens next. Thank you, sir, for joining.
Thank you, Lavanya, for having me on the show. It's a pleasure.
So let's start.
Yeah.
So let's start with the boardroom mechanics first. A chairman with unanimous board and trust backing for reappointment. It's undone by a single dissenting director. So how unusual is that in corporate India?
No, we need to understand that it is not just a single dissenting director. The director in question, Mr. Noel Tata, is a nominee of the Tata Trusts, which own about 66% of the shares of Tata Sons. So, to that extent, since the nominee of Tata Trust also has a veto power, it is not just a single dissenting shareholder. It is important to know that whatever Mr. Noel Tata conveys on the board discussions at Tata Sons is actually the thinking of Tata Trusts. And so, to that extent, there seems to be misalignment between the larger thinking or the management at Tata Sons and that of Tata Trusts.
Can one dissenting voice really block a decision that had unanimous support just months earlier? So could you walk us through how that would work?
So, as I said, Lavanya, it's not just one dissenting director. Secondly, the unanimous decision that you talk about is actually the decision of the NRC, which is the Nominations and Remunerations Committee, which is a subcommittee of the board, not the whole board itself. And this director, Mr. Noel Tata, is a representative of the Tata Trust. So, to that extent, the decision which is conveyed on the board is a decision of the Tata Trust.
Right, sir. So my next question would be from a governance risk rating standpoint, does an abrupt contentious chairman exit like this get flagged differently than a planned succession, even if the company insists this is orderly?
So it is abrupt to the extent that the resignation was a surprise, but there was definitely a dissonance within the board members of Tata Sons. There is definite misalignment between what the management of Tata Sons want and the Tata Trust. So all this is just playing out. So Mr. Chandra only has chosen to resign on his own terms, and the resignation is not effective immediately. So it is he is putting out, or he's staying out his entire term till February 2027. So to that extent, there is a path for about 6 months for a transition to a new successor. So the board needs to act in post haste to find a successor and then ensure that there is smooth transition.
All right, sir. But Tata Sons isn't listed, but their group companies are. So, what should retail shareholders in TCS, Tata Motors, Tata Steel, and others be watching out for as the succession process unfolds?
Yeah, today if you see the stock prices declined, there was a knee-jerk reaction, I would think, to the resignation. But the shareholders of all these listed companies don't need to be worried, because each of the listed companies have their own board members, have very strong boards, very strong management teams, and I don't think there will be any impact on the operations or the financial performance of any of the listed companies. So shareholders don't need to be worried about the happenings at Tata Sons as it stands today.
So you had previously flagged how all the holding company structures can disadvantage minority shareholders, notably with Ambuja Cements and Holcim. So does this episode strengthen the case that Tata Sons' unlisted trust-controlled structure itself creates a blind spot for investors in its listing operating companies?
No, I mean this. Of course, this is a issue with Tata Sons from a perspective of misalignment between Tata Sons and Tata Trust. Does it, being unlisted, create a blind spot? I don't think so. As such, the financial metrics or the financial annual reports of Tata Sons are in the public domain, so everything is known in public domain. If anything, I think minority shareholders of listed companies don't need to be worried. Two is the listing or not listing of Tata Sons does not impact other shareholders in that sense of the public as such. It impacts the I would say the status of its minority shareholders. That is the Shapoorji Pallonji Group, the 12% held by seven listed Tata Group companies, etc.
So, talking about shareholder apologies, this dispute reportedly also touches the board representation of and the Sharkoji Palanji's exit. So, do you read this resignation as the first domino of a larger conflict or the resolution of one that's been simmering for a while?
No, I don't think this is a first step in a larger conflict. If anything, the successor chosen by the board should likely be more aligned with the Tata Trust. Uh, so I think that would be put to bed. Regarding the listing of Tata Sons itself, it's the ball is in the court of RBI. The RBI has to decide as to whether they want to deregister Tata Sons as a NBFC. The Tata Sons application is still pending with the RBI. They need to decide. RBI needs to decide one way or the other.
So, this is the second chairman exit under contentious circumstances at the Tata Sons in a decade. So, after Cyrus Mistry exited in 2016. So, do you see this as history repeating or fundamentally different in nature and severity?
Yeah, but both are different nuances. Definitely, both point to, I would say, again, there being disagreement between the trust and the Tata Sons, the vision or difference between the chairman of Tata Sons and the trustees of the Tata Trust. So, in similarity wise, that is the case. That's the reason why Mr. Cyrus Mistry was sacked from the board of Tata Sons. And today, Mr. Chandrasekhar has resigned because the trustees do not agree with his point of view.
Should Tata Sons be proactively reassuring its investors on the continuity of its big long gestation bets like semiconductors, EVs, Air India's turnaround, given the leadership uncertainty, and is that reading too much into a chairman level change?
No, see, it doesn't impact shareholders of public listed companies, because these are unlisted companies and held wholly or largely by Tata Sons. So it only impacts the shareholders of Tata Sons, which are so Tata Sons needs to reassure its shareholders on the status of these large projects. And I think there is enough material or enough data points that they put out in to their shareholders to convey the status of these projects and the like.
How far do you think the boardroom ranker of Tata Sons will affect the corporate climate in India?
So it will not have impact on other, I would say, companies. Uh, of course, investors and even the government, for that matter, will watch it very closely. Um, I think the worst is behind us in that sense. The Tata Sons and the Tata Group have an opportunity now to identify a successor who is in alignment with the Tata Trust. And if they identify the successor quickly, all will be, I would think, at least smooth for the foreseeable future.
Had Ratan Tata been alive today, how different do you think this would have played out?
That is in the realm of speculation, but definitely, again, if it comes to the tenure aspect, probably there may have been greater, I would say, alignment between Mr. Chandrasekhar and Mr. Ratan Tata. Yeah, but that's something which is just speculation and a moot point, I would think.
Alright, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. I hope we get to connect again, once again, for more insights on similar topics.